Okay, so today I've come out with the Fire Maple Star X2, Star X3. I'm going to do a review on these camping gas stoves and tell you exactly what I think about them. Okay, so this is my Star X3 and this is my Star X2. Two major differences on these. First of all, the Star X3 has an 800ml capacity pot, whereas the Star X2 has a 1 litre capacity pot. The next big difference, and possibly one of the biggest things you need to consider when you purchase one of these, is the burner. The Star X3, the burner is rated at 2,200 watts, heat watts, and the Star X2 is rated at 1,800 heat watts. When you fire these two up next to each other, you can hear the difference in the power of this one over the power of this one. However, I've tested both of these and they both boil water in roughly the same amount of time. So I've used 500ml of water for my test, and it's about 3 minutes for each one, depending on the ambient temperature of the water. We're in late spring, early summer here in Ireland, so 3 minutes isn't a bad boil time. Certainly not a boil time that I'd be worried about if I was waiting for a cup of coffee. Now let's have a look at the units. So when you get them, they'll come in a nylon stuff sack. It's a great little touch. It's a bit surplus to requirements. You could probably use that for something else on the basis that everything is self-contained in these anyway, and they've got a nice little locking system so nothing falls out. Take you first of all straight away to that locking system. The locking system itself is a small piece of cable with two brass nipples, one on either end, and it fits into the top of the handle. You literally little press down on the handle, the nipple falls away, and then you can lock the handle back out. Now this locks back with a very, very reassuring click, and that does not close again unless you release it using the safety here. I understand on slightly more expensive models, certainly the Jetboil, that's not a feature. I've never used a Jetboil, so I couldn't comment on that, but I really like this as a feature. It's good for safety, and it means that it just gives me that little bit of extra reassurance that that's locked in place. The lids on the units, they're a clear plastic, but they're not a brittle plastic. They're actually made from a sort of semi-flexible plastic, and there is a certain amount of bend in these. They have a silicone handle, so you're not going to be affected by the heat of anything inside this pot. The next little thing that I like is it comes with a pot hanger. Now, I do understand again that some of the more expensive versions of this kind of stove don't come with a pot hanger. The Fire Maple comes with a pot hanger. It's a stainless steel unit. I've used this one about 4 or 5 times to great effect, and it is etched with both the Fire Maple logo and also the arrows showing which direction to turn it to lock it onto the top of the burner. The next part that comes out, funnily enough, is the burner. This is a 2200 unit or 2200 heat watt unit version that comes with the Star X3. One of the things I really like about this is that the tap folds in under the unit and springs out quite nicely, and they have a brilliant little piezo igniter on them. Now I've used this, as I've said, about 7 or 8 times, 3 times out camping, 3 times out hiking, and a couple of times in my shed. That piezo thing is in there very, very firm. It is not put in lightly. There's no messing about with it. It doesn't move. It's very, very, very firm. It's really well put together, this unit. I'm very, very impressed with it. And then you finally come to the bottom of the package, and so the bottom of the package you have the wee stand, and this is what clips on top of, or on the bottom of, the propane butane can. Now I use a 230 gram can, but I've also got the legs in there for the smaller one. I can't remember the name of the people that make the small one, but it will accommodate the smaller one as well. So it's a really good little unit. The pot itself has calibration marks. This is calibrated for 4.4 litres. There's another mark in there which I'd say is probably about 0.6, and then you've got the 0.8 litre mark. The whole pot on both units is wrapped with neoprene. I've never had any issues with that. It keeps the pot cool on the outside when it's got hot contents on the inside, so I can lift it if I don't want to use the handle, although I use the handle. And it does provide some insulation to keep the contents of the pot a little bit warm, or warmer for longer. So that's basically that. And this all packs down quite nicely into the bottom of the burner. Excellent. Now one of the things I have found with this is that when you're using this with a pan, so I use a Van Gogh frying pan with high sides. When you're using this with a frying pan, it does tend to heat up the middle very, very quickly. So you need to make sure that you move your food around in that until that heat dissipates out to the edges of the pan. Now, on the bottom of these, you will see these heating elements or these fins, and I think those are used to disperse the heat evenly across the base of the pot. Fire maple do actually produce a range of pots and kettles with these same fins on the bottom of them. So it is quite possible that that helps speed up the process of transferring the heat evenly across the bottom of the pot. I'd really like to try some of those pots and pans and see if that does actually get rid of the issue that I see with my Van Gogh pan. Now, burn times, I've used these out on a camp in November and January of this, in December and January of this year, or last year and this year. I've also used these out on a number of hikes. I've had no problems with wind, I've had no problems with rain, I've had no problems in the cold. Obviously in the cold, the gas doesn't perform quite as well, but that's something that you have to put up with. We did have a small issue with this at the top of the mountain on Sunday, where the winds were gusting at around about 15 to 20 miles an hour, and the pilot light, or the light, did keep going out underneath the X3. However, I turned the heat up so that there was a greater gas flow. I then pulled it a little bit closer to us so that we were forming a somewhat barrier around it, and the issue seemed to vanish completely. You might want to consider having a windshield when you take one of these out if it's going to be windy when you're going out. They're very, very sturdy, very, very stable, as you'll see here. I can rock this log quite significantly. There's still about 250 ml of water in that pot, and it sits quite well. It sits quite well on top of the log. I've cooked with this on gravel. I've cooked with it on muddy ground. It's now on a log, and I've also cooked with it on rocks. Provided you find a pretty stable surface that isn't going anywhere, and even with a litre of water in it, that is very, very stable. So there you have it. Hopefully that's given you a bit of an insight and an overview of what the fire maple camp stoves can do. There's always going to be the argument and for things like alcohol stoves, and certainly some people will even use natural fire stoves. In my belief, it's the same with anything in bushcraft, it's the same with any type of outdoor hiking or outdoor pursuit. There's always going to be a piece of equipment that suits one occasion better than it suits another. If you want to stop, if you're out hiking and you're looking to stop, boil up very, very quickly so you can move on again in a matter of minutes, then you're not going to get better than gas. Yes, it takes up a little bit more space in the pack, and yes, those canisters can be quite expensive. I think they're about £3 each, but you're going to get a longer run time out of them. Personally, the one thing I really like about these is that I can use them in my tent in the winter when I'm not hammock camping, and I can use them when I go hiking. They're very quick, they're very clean, they're very efficient, and I can have water on the boil very, very quickly. That's food and drink made in a matter of less than 10 minutes in most cases. Anybody's got any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. I'll come back to you as soon as I can. In the meantime, my name's been Darren. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button, and hopefully I'll do some more of these videos when I get the time. Take care now. Bye bye.